Hey, Daniel, can I ask you a question right quick?
Yes, sir.
I know we're going to get started shortly with this great virtual study group session. Have you ever kicked a game off late? Just a question.
Probably.
I have not. I'll be perfectly honest. In all of my years officiating, when they say we kick off at...
Can you say that definitively, though?
I can say that definitively. I've never kicked a game off late.
I've had multiple occasions, in fact, where TV has asked for 15 extra seconds prior to kick. So
that's not kicking off late.
You're lying.
No, that's not kicking off late. That's still kicking off according to the time. Well, we know TV sets the time if we're working on a TV game. But other than that, we should be kicking off at the time we should. I don't
want to argue with you about this in front of everyone. I think we can pick this conversation up later.
Okay. I will stand down, sir.
Hey, good evening, Pure Officiating Universe. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being back with us. Sorry, I think as Tuta was super subtly trying to allude to that we were a couple of minutes late here, but that's okay. Got a great session queued up for you. Really excited about what we're doing. A little bit different flavor tonight, but I think there's a lot of value in it. Listen, I'm Daniel Young here with you coming out Northeast Houston. We've got Mr. Salam with us, Mr. Brandon Cruz with us. No Corey Luxner tonight. No Corey Luxner wasn't able to make it. He's got some family obligations he had to take to attend to. But back with us, we have Mr. Andy Warner, Big 12 headline judge extraordinaire, going to help us with some line of scrimmage perspective and always does a really good job bringing insight into the different plays that we look at. So, again, really looking forward to tonight. Thanks so much for being here. Always so appreciative of everybody's attendance and contributions. In the chat, really love the interactivity that we got going, really just hitting a really nice stride. So here's the deal. Really big game with a lot of visibility over the weekend, an exciting game with a lot of stuff going on, especially in the last couple of minutes as time tick, 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 tick down. How was that? That was pretty good. So we felt like it'd be really beneficial. We've done something similar before to just kind of go through the last few sequences, maybe 20 minutes of the game, I can't remember, and just break down all the different elements because, again, there's just a lot that we can learn together from this whole sequence that we're going to go through. So looking forward to it. Going to be a really good night. Anybody else want to contribute something to our introduction here before we start taking it away?
I would love to, Daniel.
Thanks.
You made mention of it, a really big game. I'm about to get on my soapbox. You know, a lot of things annoy me just because I'm kind of a weird dude. You know, I don't know if people have noticed that already, but things really get on my nerves.
I don't think anybody's ever noticed that.
No, nobody's.
So we're dealing with the number 1 team and the number 4 team in the country. This is a big game. I don't care what level football you work. If you are working high school and you have the number 1 team and the number 4 team in the state. If you work in high school and you have the number 1 team in the district that you work in, and this is the end of the season or something like that, or it's a playoff game that you work in. If you work in Division II ball and you work in a semifinal game, the thing that bothers me the most is when people say stuff like, "Oh, it's just a game. It's just another game." That's a lie. That is a lie. And I don't know who they're telling that to. That's BS. These games matter. And obviously, there's a lot more attention on them. And the crew in this game overall did a great job handling a situation where we have a really big game. So no matter what level you work, you get to that point when it is a quote unquote big game, and you got people in the locker room saying, "Oh, it's just another game, still 100-yard field." They're just full of crap. Okay, it's a big game.
You ever watch Hoosiers? The movie Hoosiers?
No, I don't even know what that is, man. All I watch.
I don't either. I just know it's a movie, but I don't know.
Okay, good point. I think that's really, really honest and refreshing because what dictates a lot about what we do is about scrutiny and attention, right? When you mess something up and nobody's paying attention and nobody cares, it really not that big of a deal. But what makes it a big game is that there's a lot of attention and a lot of scrutiny. And listen, it doesn't mean when the number 200 team and the number 201 team are playing that we don't want to be our best. But I tend to agree with you too, Todd. When the scrutiny is increased, the attention is ramped up. Man, let's be our best. I guess let's always be our best. I don't know.
That's why we're here tonight, is to sharpen the sword. Iron sharpens iron, whatever the cliche is. This is the view from – I'm moving on. This is the view from the Goodyear blimp. And normally the Goodyear blimp only goes to the games Andy Warner works.
That's right.
But
I think there was one high school game where they did show up, but they were going to the college stadium that was nearby while working a high school game. So, yes, you were right.
Welcome, Mr. Warner. Great to have you back. And he does work.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right.
This is just another game that we're going to be watching here.
Just another game.
All right, so look, we're going to use mostly screen share tonight. We've still got polls. We might sacrifice a little in video quality, but hopefully the study group content, the study material is worth it. All right, so let's just kind of limp our way in. Kickoff.
Hey, Brandon, sorry. I know you're ready. I can tell you cut low. But hey, listen, guys, excited about tonight. We've had some conversations with Webinar Jam, feel really, really good about some of the technical challenges that we've had the last couple of weeks. And I think we've got those worked out. So good news for everybody.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder. All right. So we're working kickoff here. It's the clock will come up. It's where are we at in the game? 3:33 to go in the fourth quarter. And so a lot of our kickoffs at all levels are starting to turn into touchbacks, and we got to be prepared for that. So, what are we doing, guys, relative to, I had the title there, what are we doing to manage the game? Because we also know that now the play clock starts as soon or after a deep breath by the clock operator after the kickoff becomes dead. So if the kickoff becomes dead, we ask the clock operator take a deep breath or two and then go ahead and start that 40-second play clock, which the video cuts off. But anyways, talk about how we're managing communication with the teams relative to getting the lateral ball placement. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, oops, I'm going the wrong way. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 5. So how do we work that with the teams?
So how do you know which one is 1 and which one is 5, Brandon?
In order, 1 through 5. The bottom on your screen is 1 and the top is 5.
How does 1 and 5 mean anything depending on which way we're going on the field?
I thought that's what you were going to explain. I can explain it.
Okay.
So, press box side hash. Think about the press box being where, from this white arrow orientation. So the press box is on this side. In other words, we're looking from the press box. So the hash nearest the press box is always going to be position 1. And then we go 2, 3, 4, and 5. The hash opposite the press box is position 5. How do we determine position 2 and 4?
It will be the uprights of the goalpost what is it called? Because you have a goalpost and you have uprights. The uprights of the field goal, whatever you call that thing.
The uprights. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, but hang on. What are we going to hear a lot from the coaches? Like, Andy, you get this a lot. Daniel doesn't. He's in the middle of the field. Well, kind of, but he doesn't do this.
I don't.
Utah is now back doing nothing at the referee position. Like me, you're actually communicating with coaches, Andy. So what do you hear them say a lot, and then how do you translate it?
So unfortunately, a lot of our coaches are still learning the numbers just like, we are at times. So, you'll hear the offensive coordinator or whoever is responsible for telling us what position. They'll usually say left middle or right middle or right hash, and then we have to decipher numbers. Or you can just tell your crew right hash or right middle if you don't want to bug up the systems. But you need to know the numbers because a lot of these coaches are being taught the numbers. And if they say 2, position 2, we need to know where position 2 is. I will tell you, this is kind of something I've never thought about, but we've had a lot of turnover in our conference and a lot of new officials. So I was working a couple weeks ago, and our field judge, a lot of times the deep side guys after kickoffs are right in the middle of the team box where they usually find out what position the offensive coordinator wants. So unfortunately, they said left hash, and we were going, not this direction, but the opposite direction. So it would have been position 5, and our field judge said position 1. So we set the ball at position 1, and then Coach Riley, one of our coaches, just started really freaking out because he's like, if I know the numbers, you guys need to know the numbers. So it's kind of silly to have to talk about this, but when you go to work at new stadiums and you're in a new conference and stuff like that, and you're at an unfamiliar place, it doesn't hurt to look around in pregame and actually know where press boxes are, because a lot of these stadiums are built nowadays where it's a little hard to tell sometimes where the press boxes are and stuff. So it sounds like a pretty simple thing to have to think about, but until you live a coach getting pretty upset because you don't know the positions on the field, then you wouldn't have thought about this.
So this I know people are probably groaning and rolling their eyes saying, why are we talking about this? Mm-hmm. Well, in pregame 2 games ago, one of the coaches specifically asked me about how are we managing after kickoffs, because I keep getting the play clock is running down and you guys are not putting the ball down, and what are you going to do such and such and such. All of that comes from knowing where we're putting the ball down. So the process that we use is, if the ball is not on the ground by 25 seconds, we have to pump the play clock back up to 25 seconds once the ball gets on the ground. Otherwise, we're really impacting the offense's ability to come out, read the defense, make any shifts, make any motions that they want to make. So it is imperative that we know where the ball is going to be put on the ground, in what position, so that as soon as this play is over, we rotate the ball in. The center judge in an 8-person crew, umpire in a 7-person crew can put the ball on the ground so that we can get out the way and let the offense do what they need to do. So this is not something that it seems very trivial, but it's extremely important, and coaches really care about it. And this is something that we really have to get right.
And we have to work with the teams on this stuff, because in our game last week, we had one team that would tell us prior to the kickoff.
Right.
So it's easy for the offensive coordinator to just look down at the pylon where I'm positioned and just give me a number with his hand. And I just tell the rest of the crew, hey, we're going position 4 after this touchback. But there's the other team that didn't want to tell us until after the touchback. Right. So, that's where it's not going to be the line of scrimmage guy that's most likely going to find out. It's going to be the deep official who's within that team box, who really needs to know who's going to be telling us position and go up to him immediately after a touchback, so we can expedite this process.
Well, and even I think that's a really good point. Let's think about this game. It's 33-26. I don't remember how all the scores came about, but we've had a lot of kickoffs. So if we're waiting till after the kick every time to get that information, we've talked about crew efficiency and managing the game in a lot of different contexts. That's another one that may seem really slight margins, but if you compile it together over 15 to 20 kickoffs, then it can become I don't want to say significant, but it can become a factor in terms of efficiency. So I don't know. I've never worked deep wing. But is it reasonable, Tutsa, to talk to an OC during pregame and say, hey, coach, when we have touchbacks, I'm going to look for you. When we have touchdowns and your team's receiving, I'm going to look for you to get that where you want the ball positioned laterally before the kickoff. Is that okay? And then that way we can communicate prior to the kick.
In general, I think it is. But what I would caution against is making a big deal about that. I personally don't like to change processes that teams have. I like to work with the teams within their processes to manage the game as best that we can. So if it's going to be a situation where we say, hey, Mr. Offensive Coordinator, can you give me the number before the kickoff? And then he is a little hesitant. Let's not push him. Let's just say, okay, no, I understand, but we're going to be looking for it right after the kickoff, because we want to get the ball down as quickly as possible so that we don't delay your team's ability to come on the field and do what they need to do. But yeah, I wouldn't want to push it. But yeah, we should have that conversation and try to get it before the kickoff.
But maybe not during pregame. Maybe if that feels too forward or aggressive, maybe just when you're coming down there, especially if we have a media timeout, be a good opportunity just to find the coach and just ask him if he knows where he's going to want the ball placed.
Right. And the reason I was saying that is just because, like what Andy just said, the team that he worked, that they did not want to give it before the kickoff. Well, if we say, well, we want it before the kickoff, and we get into a fight with the team because they don't want to give us a number before kickoff, I mean, that's really that's not something that we really want to start. That's not a fight we want to have.
We don't want to die on that hill. But
no.
Psychology there. Anyways, I guess now's not the time.
I
don't get it.
We've seen officials get frustrated with this system. There's no reason to get frustrated.
No.
Comes out and says right middle, and the team is going, the way the team is on the screen. Then we just have to be smart enough to translate that and to tell the crew position 4.
Yep.
And then we can work with the coaches to understand our system. But if they just want to keep saying right middle, left middle because that's what they've always said, then let's just translate it and move on. Kind of like we're going to do now. Good stuff. Something maybe we take for granted, but then it bites us if we don't manage it well, and then we're moving the ball all around like we were talking about. So, all right, here we go. So now we're rolling in this game. 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Tuta, if you can hit that first.
I will.
Ball.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
So tight sideline catch. So, right, the team on offense is behind 7. Going to have a tight sideline catch. I'll let it play. Tuta, go ahead and go through the poll.
Okay, so the question we're asking, and I don't think we saw it at the end, but the line judge gave an incomplete signal, and then his subsequent signal was the wiping out of bounds signal. So he gave 2 signals, incomplete, and then he wiped out of bounds. So the question we're asking is, the field judge, what should he do? Should he not get involved because he can't see the ball? Or should he bring information if he saw the foot clearly in bounds? Those are the 2 options. Because we can see as the body is going in, we really can't see the ball from the deep official perspective.
And so this is as tight as they get here on the sideline. I mean, this is in real speed. That's a dot. If one foot's out, 1 foot's in. We can see with slow motion and all these angles that the proper ruling is catch. So in games with instant replay, this will be overturned. So just so that we all understand that. But here, we're working through the poll from an on-field mechanics perspective.
I think we can end this one, Brandon. This one is a landslide, and apparently we've all been doing our homework. I'm gonna end the poll.
All right.
Because 100% of the people said bring information if he saw the foot clearly in bounds. And that's really, really, really important to understand those secondary signals that officials give. If he gives a bobble signal, which he did not in this case, but if he would have given a bobble signal in this case, as a field judge, I don't think we need to come up there giving any information. Because why not? Because we can't see the ball. We have no idea where the ball is. But what we do know as a field judge is where his foot is. And we can see that the right foot landed in bounds prior to the left foot landing out of bounds. So if our partner official gives an incomplete signal and waves out of bounds, we need to immediately run down there and tell him, I have the right foot in bounds. And then we can start having the rest of the discussion about firm control and anything else that we need to discuss. But if the ruling on the field is that the receiver caught the ball, but he was out of bounds, we need to get involved as a field judge with this play.
Very good. Okay, Andy, give us a little tip on you working the line of scrimmage, and I think part of what contributes to us on this play, maybe, and again, very tight, never would be. If people want to get caught up about downgrades, this would never be a downgrade, but we want to be accurate. So we can see the line judge is working pretty hard while the ball's in the air. This is all slow motion. But look, he's pumping his arms. His elbows are going back and forth. He's moving. Give us a little tip on optimal, movement with your feet to put your eyes in the best position.
Okay, well, this is just another game, right? So just another play and just another game. So it should be very easy for us. But really where we miss these a lot is when a guy gets a trail foot down like this, and we're so focused on that lead foot going out of bounds, right? And so mechanically speaking, like Brandon was saying, and I have a baseball background, and we train baseball umpires a lot in this, where many times it's better to give up distance for angle. This official has an absolute perfect angle just to work this play, right? We're towing the sideline. And really, if we just, turn our body and face down the sideline and straddle that sideline, we're in perfect position. So does it really do us any good, like Brandon said, to run like our hair's on fire, to close distance on this play when it's not really going to improve our chances of getting this play right? So now our camera is moving, and we've got to try to, deal with additional variables that we're creating that make it difficult, as opposed to just simply turning and straddling the sideline and taking this play in. I will tell you that after missing these probably, a couple hundred times and being overturned by replay a couple hundred times, a longtime sideline official kind of told me, these guys practice these sideline catches all day, every day, and they're very efficient at, catching these balls in bounds. So if there really is ever any doubt and you're working this play and you don't have any help from someone, which, you could certainly get help from your deep guy if you took a heartbeat. But if you're just, really, you have no idea whether he's in bounds or out of bounds, or you're, there's a little bit of question in your mind, I would go ahead and rule it a catch, because 9 times out of 10, they're in bounds. I'm just going to tell you, that's how I learned that the hard way. But yeah, basically the biggest thing is, from a mechanic standpoint, if you can keep that camera still and just work that great angle that you've already created just by turning and looking down the sideline, then you're going to significantly improve your chances of getting these right.
And here's really the reason we get so close here, and I know the camera probably gives us a little bit of optical illusion, but the closer we get, the more likely we are to kind of get blocked out by other aspects of this player's foot here. So, and I don't know if this really happened because we have such a different angle with this camera than the official. But the point is, our viewing distance from 10 yards back might even be better than our viewing distance here from, what is this, maybe 5 yards. And especially if we're stationary. So that's some good tips, Andy. Thank you on how to really work those plays, because that is very tight and almost impossible if you're on the move. All right,
Brandon,
guys.
You want to go back to the beginning of the play?
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a quick view where we could see that the field judge kind of got himself in poor position, and maybe didn't have a best view of this play. And if we look at it from the beginning of the play, I just want to show a couple of things.
I think it might be here.
Yeah, you can see right here the field judge is really not in position to work this sideline at all. But we need to notice, if we go back, just go all the way back to the beginning where we can see the alignment.
Sure.
Okay, so what we can see here is we have a whole lot of space here between our initial key, if we're the field judge, whole lot of space right here as well. So what we can be able to do, and then this is late in the game, we should already kind of have an idea of what type of patterns, and we should be able to recognize what type of patterns these teams run, because they don't have a lot of plays. Let's be for real. They run the same thing over, these same concepts over and over and over. So you've probably already recognized this. Now, as a field judge, if you have this much space, we don't immediately have to start turning and running. We should be able to start off on this play backpedaling. And then as the play develops, we should be able to recognize and have an eye on not only on our initial key, but also on the number 2 receiver, and also with an eye on the quarterback as well. When we see that ball come out, we should be able to stop, have our body positioned where we will be facing the action, instead of having our back to the action. And that just goes along with doing our homework from the beginning of the play.
Brandon, if I may, real quick, one more thing. After missing these so many times and only wanting to be overruled so many times by replay, I started during pregame trying to be a lot more productive as opposed to just standing out there and talking. So they throw hundreds and hundreds of passes, like little over shoulder passes to receivers and all different types of passes right during warm-up. So I've taught myself, and it doesn't have to be near the sideline, but I've told myself to continue to just watch every single receiver catch every single pass. Mm-hmm. And once you've completed the process of catching it, I look at which foot comes down. And so I'll say right foot, right, left, 27-yard line, or left, right, 24-yard line. And I train myself in seeing which foot comes down first and on what yard line. Mm-hmm. And, it sounds pretty simplistic and ridiculous, but it's really helped me, kind of get my mind ready for tight sideline catches and stuff like that.
So the yard line is where the
wherever his first foot comes down after he's kind of completed, possessing the pass, and it just trains me to recognize which foot comes down first, because like I said, sometimes you'll have a foot coming down secondary out of bounds after you have a foot coming down inbounds, just like this play right here. So if I train myself to recognize which foot comes down first and at what yard line, then it gets me focusing on their feet properly and, and what comes down.
So you're building habits in pregame. So on this one, you're sitting there watching and you're going to do what?
And I would say right, left, 30-yard line or whatever big yard line this is.
Whatever that big line is.
Yeah. Cool. Like I said, it doesn't have to be at the sideline. Right. Guys running away from me, I'll still try and pick the right sideline that his first foot came down, after catching the ball, basically. And it's improved my, I've done a few of these right where it looks like the trail leg is, or the second leg that's coming, or foot that's coming down, it would be out of bounds, but it trains me to pick up the proper foot. Because that's the first one that comes down and see where it comes down.
Perfect. All right, so we get overturned, happens to us all. Games with instant replay, tight plays. Got to work the next play. 1st and 10 from the 50. Now we're under 3 minutes, 2:57 to go. All right. We'll motion into the backfield. You don't need me to do play-by-play. These are always interesting from the offensive backfield. So let's start just kind of thinking about, in the mind of a referee, what we got I think we get an end zone view here in a second, but we know that we're snapped on position. So we just talked about this, and it's funny how these things translate. We're snapped on position 1 because it's the hash nearest the press box. So left hash for the orientation of the offense, but we know it's position 1. So a lot of us referees, center judges, and I think umpires as well are used to keeping the lateral ball position as a secondary down indicator on one of our hands. And for me, this is why I do this. Okay, so we watched this. The quarterback, it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting technique that he uses, but so he moves in the pocket a little bit. We got to make a judgment. Did he ever get out of the pocket? We get an end zone view, and then we'll talk about the crew mechanics quickly here in a second. All right, so this is a great end zone view. Now that so we've mapped the pocket. I always call this mapping the pocket on my hand. I'll get there eventually. Here we go. Mapping the pocket on my hand. So I know it's, like I said, position 1, and then really the pocket is kind of right through this tackle and right through this tackle. And I call it the pocket. It's the tackle box. The pocket is kind of slang for the tackle box. But here's the other thing we can do, and this is why pregame walk around isn't a time to waste either. We get out there. What do we see? That on this field, because these are normal splits. These are really normal splits by these offensive linemen. So on this field with normal splits, it's kind of convenient that the meat of this logo in the middle of the field is basically outside the tackle box, meaning that if the quarterback is able to kind of escape and get himself, out into here, then we know for a fact, based on how we're mapping landmarks on the field, that he's out. And we can put him out in the tackle box. look what's happening on the other side of the field. This ACC logo is pretty much, and I know camera angles are kind of weird with these lenses and everything, but this ACC logo is pretty much, if we're accepting that we're not perfect with our coordinate system here, this ACC logo is pretty much on the outside of the tackle box here. And so we can use that. All right. So now when we watch the quarterback scramble around, this is when it gets tough, when he does this, right? So we know that we were snapped on the hash, and then he moves a little bit over this way. And we're not just watching him carry the ball, because like from a referee perspective, we got to be watching this. If we have a center judge, we're watching this. Umpire usually doesn't have too much quarterback responsibility anyway, but he's watching blocks. He can sometimes help. Now, if he were to get all the way out in here into the meat of this logo laterally, like we just talked about, the pocket disappears. It disintegrates. So just because like he would get back in and then throw it, it's not like he would be in the pocket. Once he escapes the pocket's gone. All right. So we really got to be cognizant of this. So this quarterback, this is really tough when they move a little bit to the right, but did he get out here? No. And then he moves a lot to his left, relatively speaking, but is he out? We got to make a judgment. Okay. And so from the offensive backfield, we're really just working the judgment of in or out of the pocket. We understand he threw it without contact. We got to make a decision. Is he under pressure? He is, I guess. His body language is strange, but that would be enough to consider under pressure, under duress, as the rule says. Okay, so now, we get anybody from downfield or the perimeter has to tell us something. So, like, Andy, what are you going to come in saying, hopefully, on this play? Or, the way this play develops, would you come in saying anything?
I actually would. I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach that I've got to offer some sort of information. I don't necessarily always know when a quarterback is under pressure, but I do get a pretty good feel of when he's just throwing the ball and potentially no one in the area. So what we're instructed to do is we go to the referee, because I don't care whether he's in or out of the pocket or anything. I just have to help the referee by giving him information on two different variables. One is whether there's a receiver in the area and whether the pass got beyond the line of scrimmage. So I think the pass gets beyond the line of scrimmage in this situation. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I would tell the referee that there's no one in the area, but the pass got beyond the line of scrimmage. So
okay, perfect. So that's good. I mean, because it's really going to be from a referee center judge perspective. You're not going to know if he's right, he's wrong. It doesn't matter. But yeah, Andy, just for your, the line of scrimmage guy is standing right here, and this pass as well, like down into here somewhere. There's a receiver down here. He comes running back. So we could make a judgment of in the area or not. That's not really what this discussion is all about. But I think you really laid that out well. Now, if you do have let's say you do have this receiver in the area, how does your mechanic change?
I would just simply point at the eligible receiver that's in the area and make eye contact with the referee. And, if he's still working, protecting the quarterback and stuff like that, I'll even turn on my O2O and say number 12 was in the area or number 15 was in the area or whatever. It can't be number 12 this time because he's a quarterback.
Yeah, we'd have a different problem. But that's perfect. Just come in hard towards the referee here, and either you're pointing out here, or if you're not pointing, you're doing exactly what Andy did on the first go around of his explanation, which was talking about pass across the line of scrimmage, nobody in the area, all these different factors. So we have to know the rules. We have to know how we're going to work these plays. This is another thing we talk about, just showing up, working the football game. We have to prepare ourselves for this. Anything else to add, Daniel, Tuta?
Yeah, we have umpire crew of 7. I know we have some RMAC officials that join us. Yeah. So umpire crew of 7, you better get used to understanding this tackle box as well, because for me, as a referee, if this quarterback escapes to this side and I'm not sure, the first person I'm coming to is the umpire / center judge who will be over there. And I'll say, hey, you have him in or you have him out, or, we would talk about where this quarterback is.
Perfect. And just from experience, I missed one of these plays last season. Just want to just something to keep in the back of your mind. When the quarterback starts, so he drops straight back, when he drifts to his right, like he does here, and then goes what feels like on the field a far distance. So just to map what he did, he dropped back, he drifted to his right, and then he comes all the way back over here. This really feels like, because what our brain does, I think, is references where he's at to where he was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Certainly that would be that distance. What I'm talking about is this, basically this distance with the white arrow. That would be far enough to put him outside the pocket, outside the tackle box. But if he never got outside the tackle box to his right, then certainly he's not outside the tackle box to his left. So it's just something to think about. I don't have any great tips other than using landmarks, because, and we can use these landmarks if we're ready, we can use these landmarks all the way down the field. Because the first thing we're going to do here with Tuta as the referee and whoever else is the center judge or umpire in the backfield, he releases this pass and we've got potential for intentional grounding that crosses our mind. Let's go right to this spot as the official and park ourselves right here. And now we can start looking, basically we can start using our landmarks. Okay, I'm looking down this way. Oh, he's not really to that logo, or maybe he is. So I can map and use these landmarks to my advantage. Is that helpful in making sense, Tuta?
Yep, it's excellent. Excellent.
It's just really hard when you're working so many different aspects, and then all of a sudden you got to make this judgment, on the spot.
Right.
All right. So good. Covered that well. Crew handled this expertly, or they just didn't even consider it. Okay. One of the two, who knows? But when we make correct no calls, that's just as impactful to the game as making correct calls. Or when we make incorrect no calls, that's just as impactful as making incorrect calls, even though everybody says something different. Okay, here we go. So second down. Yeah, 2nd and 10, 2:47 to go in the half. Thank God these games don't last this long, huh? Like with us talking. But we're going to throw this pass out. 2nd and 10. We're going to gain 5, 6, maybe 7 yards. So we're down in bounds, and I like what this umpire is doing. And I think, Andy and Daniel, you guys chime in. I like what the umpire is doing here. And let's help the players not make a mistake of throwing the ball out this way. I know it's 2:43. We're not technically under 2 and 1 ball mechanic, whatever. Who cares about all that? Our job is to get this ball back on the ground in a competent manner. Not necessarily the fastest we can, but certainly with expedited tempo. And then before you guys chime in, just watch how well this offense is coached, because we start the play clock. The game clock is still running. And check this out. The center has his hand on the ball at 33 seconds or maybe a little sooner on the play clock. I mean, that's lightning quick. They're able to do this if they're coached well. What can mess this up is if we try to work ball mechanics, or sometimes even the players mess us up, throw the ball out to the side, and then now we get confused on what to do. So anything to add on this aspect of as the game winds down in the half?
I'm not very good at catching the ball anyway. When a kid throws it from the hash mark all the way to me, but they do it. They'll just pop up and fire to the sideline. So when we're in a relative time-sensitive situation, right when they're starting to get up onto their feet, I'll point and try and signal that there's an official right behind them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least you're trying to not contribute to the problem and at least try and let them know that there is someone else right behind them that's going to put the ball down.
I don't have anything necessarily unique to add, but I just want to reiterate, kind of double down on the idea that, we're a part of the game, whether or not we want to accept that we're part of the game. And so just to, again, reiterate the point that, okay, we're not under 2, we're not in one-man mechanics, but let's have some sense here. I don't know if we mentioned it, but it's a big game. It's late in the game. It's a tight ball game. The umpire does a great job. And maybe he does this no matter when in the game we are, but like have some game sense, and we need to take ownership of that. And I don't know how you necessarily train for that, except for just doing things like you're doing tonight. But let's have some game sense. Go get the ball. No, it's not under 2. We're not in one ball mechanics, but it's obviously time is critical, and we don't have to rush. We don't have to run around, like was said earlier, with our hair on fire, but we can be very efficient and help the offense get ready to snap the football be able to snap the football whenever they're ready. I just think that's a really good point to me. I wanted to make sure we emphasize.
And let me add my little thing on one ball mechanics. I'm kind of like Tuta. That annoys me because there's times where we're not technically in one ball mechanics, which we really are. Like this is one. There's times where we're technically in one ball mechanics where we're really not. And that's like an incomplete pass or a runner out of bounds. Then we can just kind of revert back and cycle a new ball in whatever if we need to. So we can be situationally aware and really adapt well to what the teams are doing, like this crew really did.
You know what else bothers me before we move on, Brandon?
Yeah.
And this is one of these old axioms that we get when we first start officiating. They're going to move at our pace.
Yeah.
They're going to move at our pace. We're not going to hurry for them. Like, come on. Let's not bring that to the football field, please. Let's efficiently get the ball spotted. If the team wants to go fast, they can go fast. If they want to go slow, they can go slow. But let us do our job to efficiently get the ball spotted, and they can move at whatever pace they want to move at.
Yeah, great point. Which is the case here. This is just a great example of it. It's just nothing overly complex, but if we can show good examples like this makes us all better in understanding how to manage these situations. Okay, speaking of managing situations, here we go. It's a pass play out to the right. The offense is right, and we're going to have a flag for defensive pass interference. We're going to get some big-time emotions, and then we're going to pick up the flag. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. Okay, we'll get replays of the call later. So first of all, we get a calling official talking to somebody else. We get a referee coming in. The coach is, what do you think he's doing? That's Team B's coach. I guess he doesn't want that called.
Thank you for saying nice call, guys. Good work.
Yeah, nice call. It was 3rd and 7, so this is a big call in this big game. And I think the referee has really good awareness here, kind of helps diffuse this a little bit. And then the coach comes right back out, So talk about, what maybe as a back judge, what I would have liked to see here, Daniel, do you have any type of sense of this that could maybe come over and help shield these crew members away from some of this?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, Brandon. And let me just say, I really love the referee's awareness. Even just watching this live, I really appreciated him realizing we're in a intense situation and kind of getting the coach back where he needs to be. I think then where, as a headline judge and the side judge who just made this call, we'd love to have the awareness to say, we're really tight to Team B sideline. Let's go into the middle of the field. And that's great. And I think we should aspire to that. But also let's just be very honest with ourselves. And this is a really big call at a big point in the game. So we're thinking about the details. The headline judge is thinking about the details that caused him to eject his flag. And the side judge is thinking about the details that caused him to not eject his flag. And then how we're articulating those to each other at this really critical time. So it's reasonable for them to not have that sense. So as the back judge, after you say, I'm glad I didn't have to make that call, what you really want to do is, again, we've talked about this so much when we have our game management conversations, is just have the same perspective that the referee has, because the referee is also wondering, oh, crap, what am I getting ready to announce here? These guys, I don't know, they don't seem real confident. So let's just be that calming voice to come over and get them further away from the sideline, because those 2 steps didn't really help out a whole lot. Like, really what we want to do is get far away from him, leave the referee to continue to manage him. Or if the referee wants to get involved in that conversation, then as the back judge, I can go and mediate with the coach and try to get him back where he needs to be. Because listen, he can throw a fit, he can be upset, but we really need him to do that in the white, not on the field of play.
Yep, that's great. I think if I was aware enough and trying not to be too much of a smart aleck here, I'd actually say, Coach, just yell all you want from the white. You can yell at us all you want, just stay in the white. We're going to go administer this now, or something like that, and I'm not sure he'd like that too much, but I'm not going to tell him to quit yelling at us, because then he's just going to yell even louder and more and probably come out and throw the flag for the side judge or whatever. But yeah, I really – something like, Coach, just yell all you want, but get back in the white, please, or something like that. I don't know. Tutai, what would you say?
Hey, well, I was going to ask Daniel, what about if he just launches his flag from the middle of the field because the coach is on the field yelling and berating an official?
Oh, yeah, that will happen. That will happen. Probably not in a big game in the fourth quarter. I mean, now maybe if he throws his headset at the back of my referee, as the referee's walking away, he launches his headset at him. I could probably hit him for that.
Yeah, but Brandon, I guess to answer your question, I'll be perfectly honest. So Daniel kind of mentioned it too. He said the officials who are involved in the situation don't necessarily have the awareness. Mm-hmm. And we had a very tough play in our game on Saturday. And while we were in the middle of discussing it, I didn't really have an awareness that we were standing right in the middle of the teams, in the middle of the players, until a player opened up his mouth and said something. And then I say, okay, get back, move out the way. And then, again, went right back to the conversation, but never really had the sense that from a geographical standpoint, we're standing right in the middle of the players. What it takes is someone who's not involved in the situation to come over and to really help mitigate all of the circumstances of this very tense discussion that we're in this very tense situation, because like you mentioned, it's 3rd and 7. Man, this is a huge call at a very critical time in the game. We have the defensive coach yelling in our ear. I'm sure we have the crowd all yelling and screaming as well, because the crowd is for the offensive team. And whether you want to admit it or not, all of that stuff goes into your subconscious and sometimes into your conscious as you're having these discussions about, am I going to pick this flag up or am I not going to pick this flag up? So it takes someone who's not involved to come over and really help get the situation a little more calm so that the involved officials can really come to a sound, use some sound judgment to come to a good understanding and make a good decision of what they're going to do here.
Yep. All right. So, I don't know how clearly this is showing with our screen share. Make your judgment. I know where I stand on this, but it's not too critical because we're all just going to see player actions in the moment, from our various positions and have to make calls. But anything else to add?
Yeah, let me add this. Really commend the side judge, again, wherever you stand on the action, for taking ownership of his key. He can really easily say, of course, he probably wouldn't be on this game. Well, that's the headline judge. He threw a flag. I guess he saw something I didn't see. Hope he's right. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
But he comes in and takes ownership of his key, gives the information that he has, and gets the headline judge to pick it up. Really, really strong ownership of his position in this situation. And I don't know if we mentioned, but it's a big moment.
You've said that. All right, a few more replays. Tutai, you're going to make that academy on DPI, defensive holding into DPI, right?
Oh no, he's not going to do that. It's going to be Corey and I. I'm going to let a referee do that.
All right, so we pick up Andy. We pick up the flag, 4th down. All right, and so what happens? Incomplete pass. Whew, man. All right, this game's over. Right? I mean, isn't that kind of what we're thinking? What's next? Where are we getting out of here to? What restaurant are we going to go to when we get back to the hotel? Is that what we're thinking, Andy?
I think about that prior to the game, at halftime, and all during the game. So,
yeah. We've seen examples of that. No, just kidding, not yours. All right. Well, whatever the case is, that's not what we're thinking. We got 2:10 left, and what do we know? If situational awareness Team B, the defense, has all 3 timeouts left. So lots of time left, lots of things left in this game. And hopefully we're telling ourselves a lot more is going to happen in this game. At least I hope the guys on this and gals on this game were, because a lot did. All right, so here we go. We got one to be thinking timeout alert. Where's the defensive coach? Hopefully we've talked to him. Again, we're not telling him to call timeout or anything like that, but we're just alert. And sure enough, we run a play, they call timeout. So that's their first timeout. Now we have 2 timeouts left, 2nd down and 9. 2nd and 9. We're just shy of midfield. All right, two-top poll number. I think it's poll 2A here.
2A, yes.
2A. And so we are going to have a call for offensive holding.
Yep.
On the offense. Excellent call. Excellent call, I believe, by the umpire. All right, what's the result of the play? So, as whoever, it doesn't matter what position we're working. Let's all start to globally think here. Okay, result of the play is a loss of yardage on 2nd and 9, loss of yardage. So I think it's going to be, 3rd and long. 3rd and long. Now, Andy, who did you call the hold on again?
That was me that called the hold?
Sure. Go with me. You called it on the offense, right?
Yes, the offense.
Okay, man. So if you're the calling official as the referee, I'd almost be saying, okay, offense, hold. I'm just processing this real quick as you're reporting to me. Maybe
Hold on, Brandon. Timeout. The timeout.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. What do you have?
Took a timeout. They want to take a timeout.
What? Who? What?
Timeout.
Yeah, the clock stopped. What are you bothering me for?
The defense, they took a timeout. Coach Kelly wants timeout.
Oh, no. Okay, so now we've got a foul and we've got a timeout. Okay.
Timeout. Yeah, timeout.
Oh, okay. So, man, I guess that leads us into our poll question.
Yeah.
Which is?
So the Team A committed a foul. Team B took a timeout as soon as the play was over. Is Team B stuck with their timeout, or will Team B be given options to reconsider if they want to use their timeout or not? And when we talk about options, we're talking about Rule 343 potentially here.
Yeah, ready on the next play on the ready for play or on the snap.
Correct.
All right. So we are polling.
Yeah, it's almost time to stop the poll.
Like they did in Pennsylvania or whatever. Just kidding. I just wanted to get under your skin one last time today.
All right, we've ended the poll. 80% of people said Team B will be given options. 20% of us said Team B is stuck with their timeout.
All right. Okay, so the result of the play is obviously a run inbounds. We know we're already on alert for a Team B timeout. So, and just so everybody can see this great call. It's a great call for offensive holding. 41's the defender getting held. There it is. Look, we're going to handle all the administrative aspects of the play really before we even grant the timeout. Okay, do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason I started interrupting and yelling is because that's exactly what happens on the field.
Exactly
And
what happens.
we just need to relax.
Yes.
We have a flag on the ground. The clock is going to stop. If we're going to give Team B a timeout, fine. We'll figure it out after we determine what we're going to do with this flag that's on the ground. So let's handle, like Brandon said, handle the administrative aspects first. Everybody take a deep breath, take a chill pill. We got it. There's a timeout coming, hanging, and then we'll figure out what to do.
Perfect. Okay, so initially, however it was communicated, initially we're going to accept and enforce this penalty, which means we're going to go 10 back from – this is the previous spot, team, foul by the team. Well, that's not the previous spot exactly. I'm off a couple positions. Going back to our first point of the night. But We're going to go 10 back. Where am I going here? That's about what? 7, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to go 10 back here and replay 2nd down. But then, I think somehow it gets to Coach. What'd you say his name? Coach Kelly.
Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Coach Kelly. After this announcement's made, I know we're going fast. Coach Kelly kind of thinks better of this.
Mm-hmm.
So strategy. Okay, so do we talk to me about, Andy, you've probably been in this conversation quite a bit. The absent-minded referee, maybe it was me. Actually, I know you were in this situation earlier this season. The referee goes off, makes his announcement, and then the coach is still debating this. I mean, what goes on in these conversations?
Well, obviously in an optimal situation, we would like to, if the referee has a lot of stuff going through his mind, right? So if you can be an outside presence that can offer, a little bit of clarity at times, then you can really be not necessarily a crew saver, but you can really make the crew look a lot better, right? So if you can, even in your 0-2-0 or whatever, get the referee's attention before he rolls right into an announcement. Sometimes you can head him off and still get the question from the coach. But occasionally the referee rolls right into his signal, and you want to just make sure that you at least get whatever information you want from the coach to make sure he has his option. We get so in the practice of trying to, expedite these that, sometimes on very obvious ones that we think are obvious, we do a certain thing without asking. And that's, and it happens all the time. So we just want to make sure that we let the coach entertain the options when it is important, and try to head the referee off before he rolls right into an announcement.
Perfect. And so, look, we always set the expectation, or, we try to set the expectation with our coaches that when this happens and either you change your mind, or even if you feel like you weren't given the option to make a decision on this, you can always get our attention, and we will always implement whatever decision, you want to make. All right. And I don't know if there was a time when it seemed like whatever the first decision was the final. Maybe somebody can help me with that. But I've never, ever seen it where the first decision they make or the first thing we announce is what we're going to stay with. So it's not an ego thing. It's like, geez, no, okay. They decided to decline the penalty. And so how would you announce this?
I would just come back and say that Notre Dame has elected to decline the penalty, the result of the play, whatever, and accept the results of the play, something to that effect.
Yeah, something like that. It's third down. So we don't need to say correction.
No.
There's nothing to correct. They just made their final decision.
Right.
All right, good. Okay, so that leads us into our second poll, I believe, on this play, correct?
Yes, it does. So now Team B has elected to decline the penalty. So what are we going to do about the clock? We're assuming, of course, that we did not grant the timeout, or we didn't give them their timeout, or they chose not to use their timeout. So what can the referee do? Can the referee invoke Rule 343 to start the clock on the snap? Or is 343 not an option because it can only be used for accepted penalties? Yeah.
So that's a great point about the timeout. All right.
Yeah.
So the thing is, now this is what I'm talking about, options. So we're going to have to talk through it with the coach, I think. It's like, okay, and I don't want to give, let's get to the poll first. And then we can talk through that
yeah. Well, hopefully, honestly, in a perfect world, Brandon, we wouldn't get to this poll question, because hopefully we would all on the field, all 8 of us, have that situational awareness, and somebody, like Andy mentioned, the referees think about a lot of crap. I used to roll my eyes when I hear that about a referee, thinking about this stuff. I'm like, all you got to do is turn on the microphone and say something. What's so hard about that? But there's a lot to think about. So someone else on the crew maybe can come up and say, whoa, we might need to decline this. Or really, this is what I would really prefer. If I threw the flag as an umpire, I know what my flag is. I know how we're going to enforce it. And I know what down we're going to next. And I'll say, I'm holding number 68. We probably want to decline this one.
Okay.
And then,
Yep. Perfect. So while we wrap up this poll, just one last thing on the decline penalty. Of course, now we got to figure out where to spot the ball. And just I thought this was actually may not look great, but really this was pretty efficient. I think that's the center judge right there getting the ball down on the right hash, which was correct. So okay, let's go to the clock issue now.
Wait, time out, Brandon, because you brought that up. We everybody doesn't have O2O or working with replay. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. In this situation, probably what happened is the replay official told them where to spot the ball and what to do. So let's talk about how we can figure out what happened on the play if we've already marked the penalty off. We've already maybe moved chains. No, it was holding on. Sorry, we wouldn't have moved chains. We've already marked the penalty off. How can we go back and figure out where the ball actually needs to be spotted if we are going to decline a penalty?
Well, there's 8 of us out there. I would think, Andy, if you're the line judge down here on this side, you would absolutely own the fact that this ball became dead in your side zone.
Yes, that's what I was getting to.
And that's why it's even more important to think these possibilities out. Even as a line of scrimmage guy, right? Because we know, that the end of the run was behind the line of scrimmage. They may want to decline this foul. Yeah. And before it's just another reason for us to be game aware and tell the referee, hey, we're going to give him an option right here because, we have the end of the run back here. And if you do that, then you don't even put yourself in a situation of possibly coming off the end of the run and administering it too early without giving options and stuff like that. So,
look at the line judge's hand. I think his line judge is on his O2O right now.
Yeah.
I can tell.
I'm going to be honest. Once I started administering a foul and going back to a previous spot to walk it off, the end of the run is really difficult for me to imagine.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
I think this line does a great job right here, really helping the crew get through. And you know what? They've got replay in this game, obviously. So, like you said, hopefully they did use that tool just to verify.
Well, I'm sure they did really quickly, as quickly as it had happened. But I'm just thinking, if I'm working a game where we don't have replay, and maybe we don't even have O2Os or anything like that. Yeah. This really, really, really drives the point home of how we need to slow down on situations like this, and we need to really process it because everybody doesn't use instant replay.
Yeah, really, as a line of defense, if you're a line of scrimmage guy and the run ends behind the line of scrimmage and we have a foul, that should automatically pop up in your mind.
Yes,
absolutely.
Good point, Andy. Good point.
If we go too far, then everyone's going to get screwed up, and we won't find the end of the run. So if we hit it off early, then hopefully it gives us a chance to not get in this situation.
Great stuff. Let's go to the clock. Okay, so I wish this clock would have stopped with 1:59, but it stops with 2. Okay, so let's address the poll. So now that they've declined the penalty, what did we come up with on the poll results?
We're split almost dead even. We have to get the mail-in ballots to figure. Oh, I'm sorry. No. 46% said the referee may invoke Rule 343 to start on the snap, and 53% said 343 is not an option because it only can be used for accepted penalties.
All right. We got to go to the rule book.
Yes, I love it. I love that, Brandon.
Well, I know you do, but it's on the screen now, hopefully. Oh, man. What is this issue of accepted penalties versus declined penalties? Help us out.
Well, it says to complete a penalty, doesn't it? Where's the word? Where's that word?
You got it. You're
right
getting there.
Midway through the paragraph. Here we go. Complete.
Sorry.
Who in the world drew a circle that's
well, you would think that if you're going to telestrate with a circle, it would not be a filled-in circle. But go ahead.
Exactly. Complete a penalty.
Comparative.
Come on, Brandon. Let's do better.
All right. So it doesn't say that the rule applies to an accepted penalty. Complete a penalty. So now what
What does completing a penalty mean?
What does completed a penalty mean? It's actually not in the definitions.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, you said it's not in the Rule 2. I see. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
It's in Rule 10. Now, I didn't pull that, but just look in Rule 10. It's right at the start of that rule.
FR 106.
There you go.
Rule 10-1.
To complete a penalty. Tell us what it says, or do you have it?
I do have it. A penalty is completed when it is accepted, declined, or canceled according to rule, or when the choice is obvious to the referee.
There you go. So we that contradicts a little bit what we said before, but let's not be, heroes and say, well, the choice was obvious to me, so the penalty is completed. That's not what we're saying. Completing a penalty, accepting, declining, or what did it say? Canceled?
Yes.
Yeah, you notice it doesn't say offset because penalties aren't offset. Those are fouls. But if penalties can be canceled, and that's when they're complete. So in this case, the penalty was declined, which means it was complete. So one of the myths we run into a lot with rules discussions and even trying to, administer things on the field is some of us have had the thought that, well, this 3-4-3 whole ball of wax only applies to accepted penalties. And that's not the case. This rule clearly says a completed penalty.
Right.
We good?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're back. So now we know that basically 3-4-3 is available to us. So talk us through how in the heck we're going to decide if we want to use that or not.
So we you and I had a very spirited discussion about this earlier. Basically,
why don't we start with who the foul is by?
I got you. The foul is by the team ahead in the score.
That's right. So that helps us.
Yes.
Certainly we're under 5 minutes. 5 minutes is key.
Yes.
It kind of starts to trigger us with, okay, let's really start to evaluate and use our, dare I say, football IQ. I know I might get challenged on what my football IQ is, whatever, but let's use, our knowledge of how the game, advantage, disadvantage, competitive effect, all these great buzzwords, great cliches. Let's use all those as we start to process this stuff. So we do have the foul is by the team ahead in the score, right?
Correct.
That's clear.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we were under 2 minutes, 1 second, does that matter? Yeah, it does matter because, if this was just a runner out of bounds, what would we do with the clock with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter?
Wind it up.
We would wind it up. So it's not like we can say, well, we're close enough. Okay, if we were 159 or less, then the defense would clearly have the option here on what to do with the clock. Clearly, no ifs, ands, or buts, because that is spelled out in the rule that we just put up. We put the rule up to talk about it doesn't just apply to accepted penalties, but also that, the offended team, if they're tied or losing in the score, has the option to go ready for play or snap with the clock, okay, on these situations. So, but now we're 2 minutes. So what enters into your mind on this, though?
Unfair clock tactics.
Unfair clock tactics.
Which the standard, and we should start considering invoking this rule, is around 5 minutes. So now we need to use our judgment to determine if this is an unfair clock tactic and we want to give the offended team the option to start on the snap or the ready, or we don't. But we do have the option to use Rule 3-4-3 in this situation.
And that's the thing. I think if we can just be honest and don't, we always put the disclaimer out that we're not a, what do we say? We're not a governing body. I don't know what we say.
We're not your supervisor. We're not the NCAA leaders. We're not any of that stuff.
But what we would like to do is just request for a little more guidance on this, because in this situation, what do? We have that clause that says start to consider 5 minutes. We know the foul is by the team ahead in the score. they did decline the penalty. So are we really putting the defense at a disadvantage here if we started on the ready? Look, the referee has broad discretion or broad authority or jurisdiction and all these great fancy words. The right answer is whatever this crew did. How about that?
That's correct. That's correct.
The right answer is what this crew did in the moment.
That's correct.
So, and it was met with certainly some questions, because now we're saying, guess what he wants? His team's ahead. He wants the clock to be on the ready. I mean, what are we doing? We want the clock should be rolling. Well, we have this very kind of fuzzy rule. So the crew gets together and you make a decision. If you feel like it's fair to the game to start it on the snap, then you're going to start it on the snap. There's certainly a rule that helps us there. And that's what they decided to do. All right. So I don't know, Daniel or Andy, or you guys, anything you want to add about this situation?
I mean, I know the referee gets paid like $35 more than I do. So whenever he looks at my sideline, like trying to engage me in conversation on these, I just turn around and pretend like I'm looking at someone behind me. And I don't involve myself in this.
Okay. Wow. Thanks. So if you want my opinion, maybe you don't. I don't feel like going on the snap I feel like going on let me put it this way. I feel like going on the ready for play is 50.1% better than going on the snap here, because of the fact that the defense actually declined the penalty. The offense isn't going to get a full play clock worth of a repeat the down scenario. Certainly if the defense accepted the penalty, I think you have to go on the snap, because that gives the offense an extra down in this series. So just take it for what it's worth. Tuta, I think you're 50, a little more than 50.1%.
The other way.
You like it on the snap.
I do. Yes, I like it on the snap.
Because that's simple. I get it.
Right. It is. And I'm a simple man.
Very complicated, tough to sort out in the moment. We can only look at more of these situations to get a better gauge.
Correct.
And Brandon, you say you would run on the ready on this? You would go on the ready?
I would go on the ready.
So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good play for us to talk about. Very rarely does the clock stop on 2 minutes, and we have two referees in the same conference that, have different philosophies on this. So, I mean, it's a great play for you guys to show, and, and the conversation that it generated.
And let me be clear. If it was 1:59, it's on the snap, because that is explicit in the rules.
Correct.
And 2 minutes to 5 minutes or 5-ish minutes, whatever that clause says, we have a little more discretion. 1:59 and under, there's no discretion. It's the fouls by the team ahead in the score. If there's a clock decision to be made, the defense gets the decision.
Right. Man, so this is all one game, Brandon? All this stuff happened in one game?
1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes of gameplay.
Just remember how big of a game this is, though.
Oh, no, it's just another game.
It's just another game. All right, so now we're going runner out of bounds under 2 minutes. We know what we're doing with that. We're going on the snap. Okay, remember when we were going to take the rest of the game off when Notre Dame turned it over? Well, now there's 1:52 to play, and Clemson's punting. And Notre Dame still has 2 timeouts somehow. So that's crazy. All right, just real quick, let's look at efficiency. We don't want to let up. We've analyzed these numbers, and what we do is we'll basically time our processes. Okay, so on a pump play, and again, this is when there's no like media break, radio break, TV break, whatever it is, and we time from when the pump play ended to when the referee next blows the ready for play. And we feel like that's kind of how consistent can we be. And sure, we're relying on teams, but here's what we found. We found later in the game our times were creeping up. Mm-hmm. So were the teams taking longer? Were we letting up? I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but as we started to pull some of these statistics, that's what we found. First quarter, that's blazing fast. We're getting these things out in about 28 seconds. And towards the end of the game, we were getting the teams out like 38 seconds. But here, great work by the crew. The crew gets from the end of the pump play to when the referee blows the ready for play, 32 seconds. That's just great game flow. Just a really, really good job. All right, so we're going on to the next series. So here we go. This is going to be poll 3, Tuta.
Yep.
Poll 3 has to do with the spot. Go ahead and introduce it.
This is the Andy Warner rule. Andy, we're going to call on you on this one. So basically, we see the runner. It looked like there's a potential for a little double action there near the line to gain. So the question we're asking, we have the line judge at the bottom of the screen. If the head line judge has positive knowledge that the runner's knee was down prior to reaching the line to gain, what should he or she do? Should they blow a funny whistle and come all the way across the field to make this play right? Or should they defer to the line judge since the line judge is closest to the play and the play is right there at the line judge's sideline?
Well, so
hang on. We'll let the poll results come in.
I'm sorry.
You're good. You're so fired up tonight.
Just settle down a little bit, okay? Easy, Caleb.
Big game. I get excited for these big games.
But really what you want to do is approach it just like any other game.
It's just another game. The 100-yard field, right? It's just 100 yards. Oh, my God. If I hear somebody else say that, I'm going to smack them, I swear.
Oh, man. You might even tear their hat.
Wow. I don't think that's gone public yet. Someday we'll have to let that go public.
Yeah, someday.
Okay, let's end the poll. 78% of us said if we are the H and we're across the field, we need to blow a funny whistle, come all the way across the field and make it right. 21% of us said leave it and defer to the line of scrimmage official who is right there on top of the play. Mr. Andy Warner is just chomping at the bit to talk about this play.
Okay. Well, obviously, throughout the course of the game, as a headlinesman on the top of the screen, all the way across the field, when this spot is down here on the line judge's side, we always would love to defer to him. But this is, obviously, we're trying to get spots right all 100 yards of the field nowadays. Back in the day, they used to just say, hey, you got to be 100% correct whenever you get down by the goal line or by the line to game. But now we're trying to get spots right the whole length of the field. So, guys that I work with, guys and gals that I work with, we pregame this and we say, hey, it's not me trying to big league you or, take away any of your credibility or anything like that. But if we've got to really, if this is happening in the middle of the second quarter and, there's a missed spot, we're cool with it. We might talk about it at halftime or something like that. And I expect my partner to do the same thing if I miss one. But in a very crucial situation where it's time sensitive, yardage sensitive, I don't know how the beginning part of this formation started out, but sometimes as a play develops to one side or to another, that official may be working from a little further behind the play. So I tell my partner, hey, if it means we're going to get something right and it's critical, I don't care if you come all the way across the field if it's at my directly in front of my feet at my sideline, if it means we're going to get it right. And that's how we should all work together. And we shouldn't have, too big of heads and just say, hey, that's my spot, I'm going to own it and stuff like that. We're really out here to get these right. And it's, a disservice to both teams involved if we don't get this spot right. So, as this play develops, the head linesman could quite easily be further downfield and have a completely, way better perspective as to where this double action occurs compared to where the line judge does. And so, if you have a good working relationship, it's not a big deal for him to come across the field and help out if we miss the spot.
They're tough. This knee just, I know we can't really see it here, but you can just tell right there, it bounces up off the ground after hitting the ground. So it's hugely crucial. Would you imagine replay getting involved in this at all?
Yeah, if we screw it up, they're going to absolutely get involved with it. And
so just real quick, just,
the down.
First down on this part of the field just by accepted mechanic, they're going to stay out of it. Now, if it was third down, that would be different.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Because now, if this was on the other side of the field, they're stopping this no matter what down it is.
Correct. I do want to say that there's ways that you can handle this as the offside official without completely erasing the credibility of your partner. If he's coming up and he's starting to kill the clock, and you've kind of taken a heartbeat to try and see if he's going to get this right, and he's cutting the clock, you can simply start winding the clock and tweet your whistle a couple times. He's going to look up to you, and most likely he's going to adjust if you guys have a good working relationship. So you want to be aware that if you're going to change his spot and he's going to go off of you, that you're prepared to wind the clock immediately, so you don't erroneously lose time and stuff.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So Andy, I'm glad you mentioned that, because now I'm thinking from a game management standpoint, and I am looking at just all the way. I'm sitting in the stands and I'm evaluating this game. So now we have a covering official who is killing the clock. The head coach probably sees that the covering official is killing the clock. If you're across the field and then you start winding the clock back up, what is going to be our answer to the coach when he looks up and realizes, oh, shoot, I just lost 15 seconds and I didn't even know this clock was running. This dude stopped the clock.
True.
How are we gonna answer that?
I mean, it's a really bad situation that we put ourselves into here.
Yes.
Like I said, if you're gonna be able to work together, then, and you've seen, if I've seen my partner trying to overrule me on a spot and he starts winding the clock, I'm just gonna automatically tell myself, this guy must have definitely had a better angle or something than I did. And if I'm down here at the bottom of the screen and he comes into comes off his sidelines, winding the clock, saying that he's got him short of line to gain, I'll just simply start mirroring his signal of winding the clock. We've got to do everything that we can to let the coaches and the sidelines know that we're short.
Exactly. Okay. Good point. Good. Okay. And this is interesting, man. This play was interesting.
It is. And referees sense that. And again, this is why chemistry and communication is so important on a crew, and why it's just a little bit different than other sports. We got to make an announcement. If we are going to fix this, the ruling on the field is the runner was down short of the line to gain.
Yep. So
it doesn't matter if you have replay or not, by the way. You got to make that announcement if you're mic'd up.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we were looking at this play, and I would encourage everyone who's working right now to get with their crew members and talk about this play. Andy, if you have somebody, I love what you said, the where you have your partner official tweet the whistle and wind the clock and give a strong spot. Think about it from this situation. If we have that line of scrimmage official come all the way across the field and basically stand toe-to-toe with the line judge, well, shoot, now we winding the clock, and now we got to get this crazy fool all the way back to the other side of the field while the clock is winding, and the team is ready to be snapping the ball in a very critical situation. So maybe we don't want to come all the way across the field, literally, because now we really screwed things up.
No, and I'm not trying to, obviously we don't want to get in the practice of having this happen. I mean, we really train ourselves to get these double action spots right the entire length of the field, like I said.
Yeah.
But if I like to really, really work with my partner, and I really try to have a sense, and I'm not trying to like overthink things or whatever, but I really try to overthink things in terms of, hey, my partner, I've always held at the line of scrimmage a little bit longer. My partner could be further up the field. And before I just rush down the field, cutting the clock, even though we're at 140 of the game, I mean, anyone who watches me can say that I'm very slow in my actions and stuff like that. And it probably has something to do with me mentally being a little bit slower than others.
Confirmed. Yes.
I will take a heartbeat and just simply look across the field. And if I see my partner is further up the field and he's squaring off short of the line to gain, even if I, have a good sense that he did reach the line to gain, I'm going to square off short of the line to gain, and we wouldn't even be in this situation.
Tremendous. I love that, Andy. You see, this is the kind of stuff I never worked the line of scrimmage, so I never even thought about that. So what you're saying is you're not going to give up your spot, but you're going to kind of somewhat make sure that your spot jives with your partner official spot, who probably has a better perspective on where the ball is really down anyway.
Yeah, and it's really about people that really want to jam their spots down your throat the entire time. But if you can really develop a good rapport with your fellow wing line of scrimmage person, it's amazing what you can do in terms of helping each other. And it's, this isn't a cross-field spot by any means.
No.
Like I said, if he's further down the field, he has a better perspective of seeing that where that ball is in relation to when his knee is down, and he can just simply square off, and I'm just going to go off his spot. It's not a big deal.
That's cool. All right.
It's good stuff right there. That was unanticipated. That was awesome. Awesome stuff. All right, good. So now we got it. Okay, whatever. All that ruling on the field was a first down. So we're back there. To me, yeah, pretty quick. We know how quickly this crew's getting the ball on the ground. So maybe just take a deep breath here, get the clock wound. Maybe not so fast. I don't know, Tutar. Are you good with this? Are you okay with winding the clock this fast?
Well, you and I had another great spirited discussion about this before. I would be okay winding the clock this fast if, and there's a humongous if, and I think you and I, even though we kind of disagreed on the premise, we ended up at the same amount of time that we would wind the clock. If everybody is in position to work the play and we got the ball down in a reasonable amount of time. I'm not going to just wind the clock just because. So we're going to make sure we're going to take our time and we're going to wind the clock, if everyone is in position to work.
If this is 11:41 to go in the third quarter, I think this is very appropriate.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's slow, but yeah.
At this juncture, let's just make sure to check the boxes of what you explained. Everybody's in position, ball down. Okay, great. Now let's wind the clock.
Yes. Because you saw the umpire still backing out. I'm not going to wind the clock while the umpire is backing out next to the linebackers because anything could happen. I'm going to let him clear, and then we're going to wind the clock.
Yep. Okay, and here we go. Next play. This is crazy. I mean, this spot is so tight, and not really if it's short or a first down. It's obviously short. But my goodness, we don't have to take so long on this one. This is probably all this line judge is that hand out of bounds before the knee's down. We don't have a great angle. I think it is. I think he nails this. But I guess, Andy, just real quickly so we can kind of move into the last part of the session. If you're not used to getting all these judgments through the whole game and let it spring up on you at the end of the game, and I'm not saying this line judge did. I think he nails this one. How difficult can this be if you're not making this a habit?
It can be difficult, but we try to practice some basic philosophies in terms of when it's a very time-sensitive situation. Unless the defender makes an absolute amazing play that for sure stops the ball carrier in bounds, and there's no question about it. If the ball carrier is trying to get out of bounds and there's question as to whether he got out of bounds or was in bounds, put him out of bounds.
So that's the philosophy. That's great. But now, if you've clearly got the double action we saw last time before this hand gets, you're going to come up winding that clock. You're not going to default to the philosophy.
No, correct. Right. Yeah. I mean, if he stopped in bounds, we've got to call it as is. But if there's a question, then you have basic philosophies. Perfect.
All right. Let's keep rolling. I'm glad the coach had it all the way. Did you guys see that? See that, coach? Sign this guy up right here.
Yeah.
You got it. Watch this. He's got it all the way. Boom. Stop the clock. So we just really needed him. Okay, next. So we're 126. Now we've got an injury. Okay, so if we've got a Team B injury, what do we do with that? It's 126 to go in the fourth quarter. Daniel, are you still with us? Are you sleeping?
No, you guys are doing awesome. I'm filling it up.
What do we do with this Team B injury, given the fact we killed the clock for the runner out of bounds What administratively are we doing with this Team B injury?
Well, I was going to say kill the clock because of the injury, so I'm not off to a good start. No, I'm kidding.
Yep.
We're going to kill the clock. Hey, 24 can't come back into the game, but the play clock is going to go to 40 seconds.
Yes.
We're outside of 1 minute. I mean, good to be aware. I don't think we need to get on the O2O and say, hey, there's more than a minute, so no 10-second runoff. But that's something we need to think about. The 1 minute, 2 minute stuff can get confusing sometimes, especially in the heat of battle. Just want to make sure that we stay aware that we're not in a situation where we have a runoff. Just want to be really thorough, making sure we get the play clock right. We've got a runner out of bounds, so the clock's gonna start on the snap per the under 2 minute rule, and just make sure that 24 doesn't come back in the ball game.
Perfect. And play clock operator, like always, is all over it. So
killing it.
They're just doing awesome with this.
But that last point Daniel made is really key. Make sure 24 doesn't come back in a ball game. Let's say there's a TV timeout left and they end up going to TV and 24 is not really hurt that bad. And then all of a sudden he tries to mosey his way back on after the 2 minutes and 30 seconds of us looking in the stands, trying to find X, Y, and Z and just jib-jabbing with each other.
Find one fan this year.
Yeah. So now we come back on the field and all of a sudden 24 is back in the game. Oh boy.
That's a problem.
That's a big problem. Let's make sure we know, first of all, what's the number of the injury and make sure he doesn't come back in the game.
Excellent point. Here we go. Third down, runner out of bounds for a first. So this is kind of what I was talking about. Now, we don't have to just run around with, like our heads on fire here. We can just get the ball back down in a very normal pace, okay? Just take a deep breath. Get the football down. The teams know that they do not need to hurry in this situation. The clock is going to be on the snap. We're out of bounds. This is why when I see a center judge running all over the place, like how aware are we of what's going on? Okay, 1:14 to go, first down. And we are playing through this awesome game. Here you go, Daniel Young. You ever had this, Daniel? This guy's like running right at you. Do you have any real brief tips on,
I try to just find all of the players on each team that could potentially end up with the ball in their hands at some point and be like, look, don't run at me in the game. It does not make me look good. Just run to the side, man. That's not cool at all. No, this is a bad feeling because the back judge has a great cushion and he's in great position, and sometimes they just come at you, and really what you want to do is just get out of the way. I think what is worth mentioning here from a mechanic standpoint, and we see this a lot, we have a compulsion sometimes as back judge to worry about the goal line and try to kind of slide around, and we just don't have to, right? We've got two guys that are getting paid to take care of this goal line for us. So we get in a bad situation here. We turn our hips the wrong way, where if you can't see him on that one, but on the wide angle, if we just kind of stay where we are and continue running, we can continue to officiate and get out of the way. But it's a tough spot to be in. I can certainly relate. That's for sure.
I guess the worst case scenario is this is going to be the game tying touchdown in this instance, or maybe game winning, whatever it turns out to be. And we end up making contact. So like he did a great job.
Yeah. So right here, where it just, I don't know if you paused it there, if it just kind of stopped on us, but really what we need to do, and it's easy to say now, but just keep going this other direction and getting out of the way as fast as you can, because you don't think about it. Yeah. Because you don't think about it right now, but you're running towards him, even though he's going that direction, you're running towards him right now as you start moving towards the middle of the field. So it's a tough spot to be in. It really is.
All right, more good tips. It's like, who's your, what do we normally hear at clinic? Who's your key? Okay. Some of this stuff is amazing. I'm learning crazy amounts tonight.
The tip here is stay alive, man. Stay alive.
Stay alive.
I know I'm a better line of scrimmage official today, thanks to Mr. Andy Warner.
That's right. That's right.
This is like their formation down here. We're gonna run a, whatever you want to call this, a bunch. These players are stacked. So I know that I've heard you guys say plenty of times that everybody's focused on this man right here. And then we're, Are we going to do anything different with this since we're in the red zone, or are we going to basically focus on that man to start and then let him declare real quick?
Yeah, that's the challenge here, because we want to be very initial key discipline this tight into the red zone. We're inside the 5-yard line. Transitions can get us in trouble, but that's our first threat. And so what we really need to do, and just talking about the perimeter officials and the back judge, is just get in the habit of really identifying, and it's let them declare. I mean, that's what it is, but we just need to get there really fast and make sure that we're using good discipline, because there's just going to be a lot of crossing. There's a lot of bodies here, and we need to have eyes. We don't need to have 2 eyes on one matchup.
Yeah, but we also don't need to have any eyes on these guys at the snap. I mean, right?
No, we don't. No, you're absolutely right. You're right. We need to start on the number one guy. I don't know what we call him, the tip of the spear, the tip of the arrow. That's where we need to be focused. He's the only guy threatened for foul at the snap.
Perfect. Okay, and then we're going to be working the belt. I think, Andy, this can get challenging sometimes when you're moving to the goal line and you're also potentially working, these actions by or on these players here.
Yeah, I mean, working the belt was a thing that was really heavily stressed when I first, got into, moved up the ranks and stuff like that. But as we found out, the guys weren't watching my key when he was running in certain places as I was looking into the belt. It created more importance for me to kind of have a little bit of idea of what's going on in the belt and kind of picking up guys when they are crossing, but really still knowing what my key's doing. So we're doing all of that stuff as we're moving to the goal line. So, just because we have belt responsibility doesn't really absolve us from knowing what happened to our key.
Perfect. And you can even see, we can see the back judge looking focused right in here right now. That's just an awesome look at exactly what we're talking about. So then they're going to basically run the same thing other side. Watch this dragger, crosser, whatever you want to call him, coming across. This man right here. It's like they fake at the pick. See that little shoulder lunge? What are they trying to do to us, man? Scare us? It's patted down. It's nothing. Even if he would have picked him there, we got to put together the fact that the pass never crossed the neutral zone. It gets batted down. Everybody sees that.
We also have to make sure that contact was more than 1 yard downfield as well, because these teams are really slick with a lot of the things that they do.
That's right. And even if he picks, so a lot of things can happen here. He picks him right here. Let's say, is the contact more than 1? I would say yes. Now, what if this guy runs his route more like this way? The quarterback leads him.
Yep.
If he touches the ball at or behind, this pick is immaterial.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
It's legal blocking downfield. Holy smokes, there's a lot going on. We're just watching the game, and I mean, but these guys are working the game and just doing a magnificent job.
And it's 3 minutes of game time on the actual game clock, Brandon. We started, I think, at 3:33, and now we're at 27 seconds.
Yeah. There we go.
This game didn't go into OT. We'll be here all night.
Down. All right, and now we're going to have finally different formation. Okay, catch at the goal line. Boom. Touchdown. How hard you selling this play, Andy? Because you're on the pylon. Are you coming in pretty hard or not so much here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good half yard in. So, I mean, obviously we're going to close and create a little bit of a presence as we're signaling touchdown. We're not going to stand back behind the pylon, but I'm also going to make it look like I've done this before,
Gotcha. So if you're finding that balance, you're matching your urgency with the situation, I guess.
Correct.
Okay. And then, as replay starts to get more into our game, this is the referee standing with the holder. Why? Because we're waiting to get clearance from instant replay. And why are we doing that? All turnovers and scores by National Mechanic, the crew, has to basically get the all clear from instant replay, which means, instant replay is choosing not to stop the game. It's not that they confirm the ruling. It's just that they don't have the angles that would provide evidence to overturn. So that's what that mechanic is, in case anybody is unfamiliar with that. That can get awkward, standing out there for hours, what seems like hours, which really just, I don't know, a handful of seconds. So here's a good replay right down the goal line of what Andy was talking about. Look at that. He said good half yard in the end zone. Looks to be a good half yard in the end zone. Good stuff.
Andy, you got one right, man. I'm impressed.
Got one right. Okay, real quick, we can go through. Look, we do this efficiency measure going from field goal or PAT to kickoff as well. You know, so again, let's stay focused. The game is at a break here, a pause, but we are still working. So we're keeping the teams in it. We know that, you know, this game is televised, so it's an entertainment product. Nobody wants there to be 2 minutes of pause here. I mean, we want to basically get the teams back on the field within a reasonable amount of time. The goal isn't 0, but we time this just so that we make sure we're not slipping with our efficiency in the dead ball period. All right, so TV's showing all these replays. The crew is working. The time tick, 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 tick. And then eventually we get to about 65 seconds. So what that was is from the time the ball hits the net to the time the referee blew the ready for play, 65 seconds, Tuta. I don't know. I wouldn't be thrilled with that number. I think under 60 is better, but not I mean, certainly not terrible. I would just maybe ask, is there anything else we could have done, or were the teams being slow? What's going on?
No, you know what I'll tell you is after a 3-minute period like we just had, when you're an official and you just get done with that, you almost lose focus as to trying to, get things out of their huddles and all that stuff. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready to go again, and you really have to push yourself to really get back to your normal duties and get those teams out. And, we're still playing football.
Yep, exactly. So we might just want to ask, let's make sure we don't, mentally let down. We got to move on to the next play, just like the players, move on to the next play. All right, we're going to have a kickoff, and then we're going to eventually go to overtime. You want to give your coin toss, Tutai? You want to practice your coin toss for overtime?
If you want me to.
Well, let's just do the bullet points. What are the options for the winner of the toss?
The winner of the toss can elect to go on offense, defense, or choose which side of the field to play on.
That's correct. So the winner of the toss, 99.99999% of the time, does what?
Defense.
And so then the other team has the remaining options. So in this game, I think it was Notre Dame that won the toss and elected to go on defense. Usually strategically, I think they go on defense so they know what they have to do with their possession. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes.
Okay. So then we're end of the first overtime. It was 33-33 at the end of regulation. Now it's 40-40. We're going to go to the second overtime. And what do we do now? We give the options again. I don't know if we actually formally give them. Have you ever seen us formally?
No, I think you just go over there, and just like when you're asking the coach where he want to put the ball after a touchback, it's the same deal. Coach, what do you want to do? You want to go on defense? What do you want to do here?
Exactly. So Notre Dame won the toss and elected to go on defense. So now Clemson is basically going to choose defense, which means what do we got to ask Notre Dame?
What side of the field you want to play on?
Yeah, and they're gonna pick the loudest. The
student
side.
section. They want to go play by the students
or the band or whatever.
Yeah.
I know some conferences struggle with bands playing. I don't know who that would be, but anyways, so that's what happens. And watch, the crew does a good job. They're talking to the Notre Dame coach. Why? Because of just what we said, that which side of the field do you want to play on? Then they go mosey on down that way. And I think this game actually finally ended in double OT. What a great game, full of everything in the last 3 minutes.
Yes.
But just, thought we would go through that in a little different way, because what do we normally do? We basically put plays up in a vacuum.
Yes.
And talk about how much we know. We could have spent 3 times the amount of time talking about these plays. I just thought this crew, for the most part, nailed it. Few opportunities for improvement. Look at our games. Lots of opportunities for improvement. but felt like it would be a different style to go through it this way. And look at all the nuggets that came out of it. You know, Andy's line of scrimmage stuff. Daniel, do you stay upright every game, or is that just –
I mean, unless I'm viciously attacked by a player, I try to stay upright.
Oh, a camera.
Or a cameraman.
So great tips. You know, we had some other tips relative to communication. We even covered intentional grounding. We covered efficiency. We covered a lot of stuff. And all this stuff happens, and if we don't nail it, it just, you know, we're at risk to end up mismanaging some of these aspects down the stretch. So anything to add?
No, that was awesome. That was really, really cool. Good job, guys.
Andy, you again?
Just think again, just a mental challenge that we had just discussing these plays. Think about the mental challenge of the officials working these plays in, again, as we mentioned, a pretty important ball game. And again, I don't care what level you work, there are big games. And if you sit there and tell yourself it's just another game, then you're just lying to yourself. And you really, what you're doing is you're giving yourself an excuse to screw something up. It's a big game. Take it seriously. Make sure you line up every single snap and be ready to work. Obviously, we saw everything that could happen. How many different rules that we had? I mean, we could have wrote a whole rules test on the last 3 minutes of this one game. Again, crew did a great job in a very tense situation. Just really, I enjoyed this session myself. I thought this was a really good session.
Mr. Warner, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I always love doing these things because, you know, it makes me a better official just being able to, you know, talk about this kind of stuff. So I appreciate it.
Well, good. Well, I know I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this one just to get all those nuggets. So I really appreciate it. Guys, have a great night. If you're working, have a great game. Travel safe. Everybody, please stay safe and healthy out there. And we'll be back next week, won't we?
Yes, we will.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Awesome. Guys. Have a good night.